Hey guys, welcome back to Real Women in Trucking. My name's Gloria Hollins. I'm the administrative assistant here at Real Women in Trucking, working alongside Desiree Wood, founder and president of Real Women in Trucking. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Miss Natalie Jassopadilla to talk about her involvement in Real Women in Trucking and her story of getting into trucking. Natalie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi guys, so my name obviously is Natalie Jassopadilla. I also go by Spicy Trucker. I've been in the industry November 1st of this year. It'll be a total of 13 years that I've been driving. Truck driving runs in my family. So I didn't know that until recently because I guess both of my grandpas were truck drivers, but that's not why I got into the industry. I actually got into the industry. My stepdad has been a truck driver more than 37 years. And so growing up, I've always been around the big trucks and I've seen them. I love them. I admire them. I like the way they look. I just all around, right? And so, and I enjoyed being inside the truck when I was younger too, right? I've only went on a couple of rides with him, but it's something that I've always remembered and took with me forever. And not only that, I'm very, I wanted to do a job that I would be able to travel and get paid at the same time. So actually I had went to school, to college back in the day to be a flight attendant and never pursued it. But hey, here I am going on 13 years later, and I believe things happen for a reason. So I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I wouldn't change it for the world. So
Awesome. So you've been trucking for 13 years. You were going to be a flight attendant. Now that's an interesting change in occupation, but I can kind of understand why you still get the same outlet of being able to travel and make money through traveling. So yeah. I know that you don't talk a lot about like your specific business, but would you be comfortable telling me like kind of what kinds of freight you haul?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you my experience and stuff, what I have in the industry. So I've done rail containers here in Los Angeles, California, for about 6 years local before I decided to go over the road. Me and my husband were company drivers. We decided to go team driving together, and we've been doing that for another about 6 years, going on 7, right? So I have reefer experience.
Oh, that's exciting. All right. So what do you love most about being a trucker?
I love the fact that just it comes with like there's a lot of freedom, and then at the same time there's not, you need to keep it professional, but it's when I'm in the truck, I'm in my own environment. It's just the beauty of the road, or just being able to watch the sunset or the sunrise. Like I said, I've driven places that I've never could have ever imagined that would have been down in the middle of the desert or little tiny highway. So it's just exciting, and I'm getting nervous. But yeah, there's just a lot to me, trucking's a blessing. It's been nothing but a blessing for me. And it's one of the jobs that I can strive in because I'm a hands-on learner. So trucking is hands-on, right? And you're always being challenged. I feel like, I'm learning things all the time. So, and I'm always being tested or challenged in the industry too. It doesn't just, I enjoy it. I all the way around enjoy it. I'm messing up a lot.
Awesome. So a lot of the ladies that I've talked to, everybody comes from these different backgrounds, these really interesting experiences. What led you to Real Women in Trucking?
So Real Women in Trucking, obviously, to me, I think it's important to be part of them and to, come forward and try to encourage other females they don't have to necessarily join, or just, I didn't want to be another female in the industry. I am not big on social media. I have a small following, but for my following, if I just wanted to be the type that everyone gets on YouTube or TikTok and they talk so highly about wanting to empower and do things need to be changed in our industry and all of that, but what are they actually doing to get themselves involved and be part of the industry and actually make a difference? And so I want to be able to encourage other female truck drivers that, you know, that are new, that are coming into the industry, that a lot of them, they don't even know about Real Women in Trucking, and it's a safe haven. It's somewhere that you can be heard, you can speak your truth. We're not, it's a place where if you don't feel like you're being heard, us women can come together. You don't know where to start about things. I also feel like it's like the name, it's real. It's real. You can come and you don't have to worry about this organization. Is not about empowering their pocket first. It's more about empowering each other, us women out here in the industry, and just you can be involved how you want to be involved. You know what I mean? We're all female truck drivers, so a lot of us, we really do. We have a busy schedule, and I like that I can give and be a part of it how I want to be a part of it. And so no one's forcing me to, you know, do anything that I don't want to do. So, oh, sorry. Did I get out?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I'm all over the place.
You're fine. You're fine. So you joined Real Women in Trucking for the sisterhood and the change that comes as a result of women unified with causes in mind. So this is where the interview takes a little bit of a heavy shift. And if you don't feel comfortable answering any of the questions that I may be asking, just tell me that you don't want to answer them, and that's perfectly fine. But that's just what we roll with. But okay, we're going to pick this back up.
Okay.
So you've uplifted the fact that you like the sisterhood and the camaraderie and the ability to affect change through the sisterhood that is Real Women in Trucking. I'm going to ask you some questions kind of about your experiences now as a woman in the industry. Because Real Women in Trucking does confront a lot of issues,
Okay.
very specific to.
Can I go back and add to why I joined? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So also because Real Women's not afraid to talk about the things that are going on in the industry that everybody just wants to, you know, not address, or they want to just, they keep calling me. Sorry, I'm gonna like, okay. So another reason why I joined Real Women in Trucking is because it's also, I feel like it's a safe haven for women to come forward that are not comfortable or feel like they don't have a voice, or they don't know where to go, especially when it comes to certain situations that are happening in our industry that people do not want to address because it's not something that no one wants to really talk about, like sexual harassment or being assaulted. And, you know, it's unfortunate that this does happen in our industry, but it does. And so therefore, those females that go through that shouldn't have to feel ashamed or feel like they did anything wrong, because they didn't. And I also want them to know that there is a place that they can come forward and they can be heard and they can speak their story and their truth, and they shouldn't have to feel like they did something wrong or feel afraid, and just spread that awareness that, hey, look, you know, this is something that doesn't happen but it's the truth. It does happen in our industry. Just because it personally hasn't happened to me doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. And so it's also about bringing awareness, because if something were like that to really it's like, where do you go? Who do you talk to? You know, you already feel ashamed, or you feel afraid. You don't want to lose your job. Just, it's a lot. It can be a lot of pressure, a lot of, you know, for them just to keep their mouth shut. And so, you know, I noticed that Real Women in Trucking deals with a lot of the subjects and issues in the industry that people are afraid to to talk about, to touch bases on. And that's one thing I really like about it too, and why I decided to join, because it will give you, if you want a voice, you have a voice here. You will be heard. So if you want to speak up, you want to tell your story, you want whatever way you want to come and be part of the trucking industry and represent yourself, you can be yourself, and also represent for other female and encourage, and you can be part of that, and you can take it. It's like endless possibilities of how you want to go about things, right? And so instead of just using social media platform to spread awareness, you know, here's an organization that has already been built up from scratch, that is already making things happen in the industry. And if you really want to get involved and be a part of something and make a difference, you can be part of and make a difference, especially with joining Real Women Trucking, or, you know, just being part of an organization that's already I feel like they did a lot of the hard work, you know? So like I said, I can be involved however I want to be involved, whether it be however I want to share the messages, or if it's, you know, if I want to be part of the talking about and being involved in the parking issues that is going on, you know. So I feel like there's more to it than just that. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I get to choose how I want to participate and, you know, and take everything. So
Awesome.
like
So that's awesome. Now, when you look at the fact that you are aligned with Real Women Trucking and you haven't had so Real Women Trucking touches on a lot of issues that truckers face, and you have not had the experience of the sexual assault or sexual harassment, but what issues that Real Women in Trucking confronts are most important to you?
So speaking on the sexual harassment and being, you know, so me personally, I didn't come in with a trainer in the truck like everyone else. I had a female truck driver, and I sat there with her for about a week, and then I was thrown out on my own, right? But when it comes to being sexual harassed or any of that, I've experienced that a lot in my life, just in general. So I know what it feels like, and it's not something, it's very uncomfortable. And I've seen things in this industry too, that women, seen things too in this industry that, you know, we are coming into an industry that is more dominated by men, and it's unfortunate that not all of them are like that, because there's a lot of good men out here in the industry that they don't, you know, they're not just thinking see you, and, you know, they actually respect us. They look at me as their co-worker, you know, out here, just another driver on the road. And then unfortunately, walking in the parking lot or the truck stop, or even just being inside the store, or the, you know, and a lot of times it's not coming from your other truck drivers too. It does come from the truck drivers, but it comes through it's just life, you know. It comes from forklift drivers. It can be if you're checking in at the shipper. It could be a dispatcher. So it's one of those things that happens a lot, and it's really not talked about, and it's not something that should be especially the extent, right? Like there's different levels, right? So some of the things, if it's really, yeah, you should be able to come forward and say something. A lot of times I believe too, I don't know what I was going with this.
Okay.
All over the place. Should be able to come forward, right? We shouldn't have, just because we're females and, like, you know, if we want to dress up one day and wear our, you know, look pretty and have our makeup on and stuff like that, doesn't mean that I'm seeking attention, and I want that attention, you know? So, but I also believe too, it's, you know, I take a lot of pride in what I do and the way I carry myself as well too, because I do know that I'm out here with a bunch of men, more dominated industry with men. I don't know, I'm all over the place.
No, you're fine.
You can go back to the question.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Okay.
So my question to you was, what issues that Real Women in Trucking confronts are most important to you as a driver in your experiences?
Oh, so what issues they confront? Okay.
That are most important to you. So yes, sexual harassment is one of the big issues that the organization confronts as a whole. But when I'm just talking to you, Natalie, what things do you experience? Like you mentioned the parking issue. Parking is a trucking wide issue, and there's no, there isn't a lot of safe parking. And there does need to be an improvement made in that area. So that's an issue that affects you. But what's like the one that you're most passionate about?
Out of the two?
Out of all of the things that you know of.
So the most passionate one that I would have to say is just, there's so many good things that they do. It's hard to choose. It really is hard for me to choose, right? So I feel I'm like passionate about all of them. Anything that I can help out with, or that's the way I see it, and then especially, like I said, with the sexual harassment, I'm very passionate about that because I have been sexual assaulted or been harassed and stuff, maybe not necessarily in the trucking industry, but I've experienced that throughout my life. And so I know what it feels like, and it can sometimes, the situation, depending on the levels, right? They're afraid to come forward. And I know that this is a safe haven for women. So I want women to understand that there's nothing you could have done, not to blame themselves, you know what I mean? Because that's what happens is sometimes you feel ashamed, or you feel, it really does a number on you as a person. And so, okay, I'm getting nervous.
No, you're fine. You're fine. When you think about if I gave you the opportunity right now to speak to young ladies because they've lowered or they are lowering the age to obtain trucking licensing, what advice would you have for young women that are coming into the industry?
Yes. So coming into the industry at 18 years old, I really do think that is still very young, and they have a lot of growing up to do. So you would have to be more cautious than ever and really keep alert in be aware of your surroundings, because at 18, they're still learning. I'm not saying don't come and do it, don't join the industry, but you need to know that you have to protect yourself, because you are coming into the industry, and there is a lot of grown men in the industry that, like I said, there's a lot of them that they won't even think for a minute to jump out and help, and they're genuine, and they're truly, their intentions are there and in a positive way. And then there's also intentions of other, it's just like the real world, right? So you really have to have tough skin. You really have to be able to stand your own ground. You really have to be able to have your own back when it comes to being part of this industry, because you will be tested, and you need to know that it's important that if you are going to do trucking, that you need to believe in yourself. That's the number one key. You really have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do it, because at times it's going to be really hard, and you might want to throw in the towel, and there's not always going to be someone right there to be able to help you. So you're going to have to be able to come out and learn and master it and get it down on your own, so that way you don't need anyone to help you. So you're also not putting yourself in a position or a situation that it can turn ugly. Because when I was younger, I noticed that when I would struggle a lot to back and I needed help, then that's when you're inviting the guys to come to you when they were just minding their own business. Okay. And so sometimes it's not even just, you don't have to be rude or mean to them, but sometimes I'd be so stressed out and tired that I'd want to go back into the bed and sleep, but I wouldn't want to come off as I was rude or disrespectful to the guy that just helped me, because I was so blessed and thankful that he did take his time out of the way. So I would stand there and I would still talk to them, you know? And so sometimes it can be very draining, stressing, that you need to learn to have boundaries and put your foot down and be able to carry yourself with a lot of pride and with respect, and know that, tell them, hey, look, I'm thankful for you helping me, and then know when to just keep it moving. You gotta have tough skin, and just when it comes to the parking issue and sleeping in your truck, don't advertise that you're in there alone. That's why, you know, put the curtains up right away. If you're gonna be, every female, you know, I think it's important that you're gonna have to have your system in the truck on how you use the restroom. So that way, if you gotta go, you don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and walk across the parking lot. That can be dangerous, not only for us women, but also grown men in the industry, because you never know, depending on what area that you're in, right? Because there's crazies everywhere. So I just feel like at that age, you're young, and you have the trucking would be an awesome career. I don't be afraid of joining it and coming out into our industry, but you really have to be aware of a lot of things and do your research and see if it's something for you that you might want to join and be part of at that young age. Because when you come out into the industry, another thing is you're going to miss home time. You're going to be away from your family. You'll be gone for a couple weeks at a time, or maybe months, right? If you're doing over the road. And so I feel like it's important, if you're really young and you're not ready to be able to be away from your family, then there's nothing wrong with not still becoming a truck driver. But you got to do your research. There's different styles of trucking, right? So some of us, we stay out for a month at a time and then come home for a couple of days. Some of us, it's only 2 weeks. Some of it's a week. Some of it is you're going to have to come in and you're going to sacrifice your time in the beginning because you need to get your experience, but then you can come back and you could be a local driver, and then you can go home every day and you can see your family. You can be, or have more days off. You got to find a balance. I think it's so important to find a balance in the trucking community when you come out, and not just get so caught up in running the miles, because it's important that you also live your life. You're so young at 18 that you don't want to just look at your life and be like, well, I came and became a truck driver, but you also didn't live. You didn't go to concerts. You didn't go to the fair. You missed out on so much, just little thing. It doesn't matter. Whatever to you is living your life. You got to it's so important to find a balance if you're going to be a truck driver, because there's so many hours that we work. And we, like I said, we can get caught up in, for a female too. Another thing is your bladder, right? So it's important that you don't weaken your bladder as a female. I didn't know this coming into the industry. So when I first went over the road, I was taking a lot of pride in bragging, like, well, not really bragging, but myself, like it was a game, that I could drive 7 hours straight without having to pull over and use the restroom, right? So by doing that, I didn't strengthen my bladder, I actually weakened my bladder. And so now, because I've held my pee for so long, when I gotta use the restroom, I got to go. And it's so yeah. So as a female coming to the industry, and even and like men too, do not hold your pee. It will weaken your bladder. Don't get so caught up in running the miles like that. It's not, our health is important. And just, you don't want to pull over and get off at a rest area, or it's in the middle of the night. That's why I said that's what comes in play, where you have your system in the truck, where you don't have to get out of the truck at all if you don't want to. You can keep your doors locked. You can go in the back, you have your system down, and you're going to be safe, right? It doesn't all through all hours of the evening.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. So I think it's really sage wisdom that you would remind people not to hold their pee, because I used to be a record hours of holding pee person.
Me too.
Can't do that anymore. Like when I gotta go, I gotta go. now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important concern. And I really appreciate you talking to me about why you've decided to align with Real Women in Trucking and some lessons for those that are going to come behind you. I like to ask fun questions. So we're going to switch over to some fun stuff because I also like to get to know the personality of the people that I'm passing on the road when I'm driving on the highway. If you feel comfortable, would you tell me what the most unique load you've ever hauled has been?
So mine would have to be, it's not too much of what was in it. It was unique because it was a high value load, and I was transporting, they were cell phones.
Mhm.
Okay. And so therefore, because it's a high value, I actually had an escort. And me and my husband too, we had an escort, right? And I've never really had an escort like that. And this is when we were completely over the road. I wasn't familiar with the area. We got there, we checked in. They said, this guy is going to be your escort. I was like, okay. So they gave me his phone number. He drove right behind the truck the whole time. If we were going to stop, we had to let them know we were going to stop. We had to coordinate with them, right? So us being drivers and the way our truck is set up, we can go for miles straight at a time, right? So this poor guy, it was his first day on the job too. So talk about holding and not having food and just not being prepared all the way around. So, I can drive for 7 hours straight and not have to take a break, right? And so this guy, I didn't know it was his first day either until we actually got to where we were going to deliver, right? So I had to push through, and he never called me to tell me that he wanted to go to the bathroom or anything like that. Felt bad, right? So when we got to the shipper, he thought that he was going to come in, and the delivery place, he thought he was going to come in and say, okay, bye. What is it? I'm done. The truck is here. They told him, no, you don't leave until the truck is completely offloaded. It's still part of your job to stay with the truck, right? So this guy was like, he didn't have no food, no nothing. So I made him a peanut butter jelly sandwich and got him a bag of chips and a bottle of water. And I felt so bad for the guy. So I walked over to him and I told him, hey, I kind of overheard that it's your first day, and I'm sorry. If I would have known, I would have pulled into the truck stop. Just even for the guy, right? I said, we don't stop. Like, we're so used to, we have everything in the truck, and I'm not sure if you want this, but here's some food to hold you over until you do get off rotor. But I thought that was like cool, just the whole escort, having an escort, right? Because you never know, like, I didn't expect what we do is actually not easy. So
Right.
it might come easy to us later on down the road where it's like, oh, I just drove. It ain't no big deal. But for other people to do it, it's really hard on them. So, and that was that guy's first day. So I put him through the ringer. He was probably like,
oh goodness. Well, but he learned first day. I love when people learn on the first day on the job. So when you go over the road and you're on these long haul trips, what do you do to keep yourself entertained as you're passing mile after mile after mile?
So I like to listen to music, of course, like everybody else, but I'm a huge talker. I'm not going to lie. I have my fancy trucker Bluetooth that looks like a tall marketer that I wear. So I'm hands-free. I actually will talk to my other fellow female truck drivers that are doing the same thing out here on the road and driving just as long, because we understand each other more than anyone else because we're doing the same, type of job. So we have hours upon hours sometimes that we can talk, right? So I keep myself busy by sometimes I'll listen to audiobooks or inspirational speeches. I also have a truck full of my little family. So I juggle them in between everything else, right? So even though I have my husband in the back there, he's sleeping. So I don't get to talk to my husband the way everyone thinks, because he's also a truck driver. So therefore he has to be able to sleep and get his proper rest, right? But I really do enjoy having him in the truck. But we have fur babies, and so that keeps me on my toes with them, because they're a handful, and they're like having kids. So I pull over and I have to make sure that, just as long as taking care of myself and going to the restroom, that I do the same for our little dog and stuff like that. And I love to watch like scenery, and just, I really enjoy being out on the road, whether if it's in the major city or it's out in the middle of nowhere. I love the view. I love seeing animals. I'm a huge animal lover. So I get excited. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen deer, I get excited every single time. Like, oh my God, there's deer over there. Like, it doesn't matter how many times, right? You see the animals, or if it's, yes, I get excited. So, and I get excited for food places. I know that's bad. That's another thing that I love about our job, is like, wow, what's that restaurant over there? Or what's going on over here? I've seen fairs or festivals. I've seen things going on as you're driving past, and it just really gives you an idea of like, hey, I would like to travel back here one day and do that. It really helps my list of things that, places that I would want to go back to and explore and do. Like, I want to go to Savannah, Georgia. I've never been, right? But I've heard it's really beautiful. And they also dye the lake or their water green during St. Patty's Day. So I'm very festive. I love the holidays. So one of the things that I try to do, that I always do, is, even though sometimes we are blessed to be home with our family to celebrate, and sometimes there's been years at times, like we've been in the truck over the road and we didn't come home to celebrate the holidays, but I never let that damper my spirit or make me feel sad or make me feel bad. I like to decorate my truck, right? And decorate my truck. And me and my husband, we also like to dress up during the holidays. So I am Mrs. Claus and my husband is Santa Claus. Or if we are working during Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Also for Halloween, I dress up in costume, and I try to actually encourage other truck drivers to dress up as well. That's something that I've been doing since I first started into the industry, and my costumes have progressed. They've gotten from like little horns and a tail to full decked on costume now every year. So I just really enjoy my job, and I just make the best of it no matter what, because I learned in life that life's too short, and if there's something that you cannot change, there's no point. What is it? It's all about your attitude. So trucking can be really hard, right, on a person, and you miss a lot of time home. But I feel like attitude is everything. So everything in life comes with good and bad, but there's so much good in trucking. And if you just focus on the positive instead of, why did I call so many times a day? Oh my gosh. The perks of being a business owner and being the CEO, to put my number, got Tom marketers calling. But yeah, where was I going with this? I completely forgot.
You dress up around the holidays and you very much enjoy your work.
Yeah. So I enjoy my job, and I just think it's important as a truck driver. Like you said, what do you do when you're driving to keep yourself, if you feel yourself, because you have so I feel like being a truck driver, you have a lot of time to think, especially when you're driving. And so it's important that you take care of yourself, not only physically, but in all aspects, right? Either, a balance between work and enjoying yourself, but also mentally. And that's why I think listening to inspirational speeches or just, positive stuff can go a long way, because I feel like you could get so caught up being in the truck by yourself that if you're dealing with something, you tend to take it all in by yourself, and you don't have to. There's people that love you and care about you, and there's other truck drivers. Whatever it is that you're going through, don't be how do you say, unless you like being, a hermit crab or not being social, then fine. But I come from, before I was a truck driver, I come from being a food server. So I've always been like a social butterfly. So I don't really like being by myself, but I find a way to not feel like I'm by myself. So that's why I also do the social media and get on TikTok and talk to everybody, so that even though I'm in the truck and I'm sitting there and they're not physically, I'm not talking to myself. Right.
Natalie, I really appreciate you taking the time out today to sit down and talk to me so that I could get to learn a little bit more about you, so that our beautiful audience could get to know a little bit more about you and about Real Women in Trucking and how you fit into that beautiful puzzle of women that are unified for this change for your industry. This is ordinarily the spot where I ask, do you have any closing thoughts?
So, no, not really. But do you want me to talk about my cancer? Because I didn't bring that up at all.
Do you want to talk about it?
I can talk about it.
If you'd like to talk about it, you most certainly can. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about what I'm going to bring up is a very touchy subject, because a lot of people don't like hearing the word cancer. But today marks my 1-year anniversary from the last round of chemo. So, and I'm in remission. So I wanted to bring it up because I think it's important that, like I said, your attitude is everything in life. And not once did I let it slow me down. And I am so blessed that I can still continue to do my job and be a female truck driver out here on the road with all my fellow truck drivers. There was a point in my journey that I had to step away from the truck, and it was really hard for me because trucking to me is more of it's a lifestyle. So I really did miss being, on the truck, driving and being able to work. But I'm gonna bring up trucking because, and what does it have to do with cancer? Because trucking prepared me for my journey more than I ever would have thought in my life. So while I was sitting in the hospital room, I would go in and I would check in for 5 days at a time. The hospital bed and having a convenient all hours restroom with working water and everything else was a step up. It was like luxury compared to what I'm used to being in the truck. And so therefore mentally wise, it didn't affect me when I went into the hospital, because of trucking, it takes a certain type of person to do our job mentally wise, right? Can be hard on us. Sometimes we don't get to take a shower every day. Sometimes we don't take shower for days on, right? So being the fact that my career and what I did was a truck driver, and then now I was faced with having B-cell lymphoma cancer, and I had to do what they would call the chemos, our EPOC, and I had to be in the hospital for 5 days straight at a time. Me being in the room was like luxury. Like they would bring me wipes. They would bring me wipes that were warm, like warm already. I was like, here's some, sorry, because I wasn't able. I was like, oh no. So mentally, it didn't affect my, my spirit. It didn't break me in that way, because I already had mentally. It was already a challenge when I first went out over the road and became an over the road truck driver, that I had to go through all those emotions and learn to adapt and learn to go with the flow and learn to, okay, being team drivers, guess what? I wanted to take a shower today. We don't have time and I don't get to take a shower, So, and that can put you in a bad mood sometimes, because baby wipes and alcohol only go so far. So, so just, I don't know. I wanted to bring it up because what I'm trying to say is, don't ever feel like you're alone. You're not alone out here, whether it's trucking, whatever it is, there's groups. That's why I wanted to join Real Women Trucking because there's groups that you can join and make you feel, you don't have to feel like you're in things by yourself, because you never are. You're never alone. You don't have to go about things by yourself either. And if you need advice, to me, advice should be free. So always given for free. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
No, I love that. And I love the fact that you shared your cancer story with us. Congratulations on a 1-year remission and post chemo. That is really excellent. And it is my sincere hope and prayer. And you can, if you're not a praying person, that's fine. My apologies. But my hope and my prayer that you continue on this journey of well-being and restoration to your former self. I know that cancer is, it's hard. It is very hard. And I know it from an outside looking in kind of perspective. So I can only imagine what it's like being inside of that. So I commend you for being able to keep a positive attitude and then being able to draw from one experience to get you through the other. That is super, super dope. I also always take the opportunity when I speak with you ladies to thank you. I'm a consumer. I don't work in the trucking industry. I didn't know a lot about the trucking industry when I came into this. And every day, every conversation, I'm learning something new. I'm learning, the conditions that you work under. I'm learning how I, as just a regular person, can help affect change so that you guys have better conditions to work under. Because I don't think about parking. I drive a little tiny CRV. I just park where I need to park. If I travel for work, 9 times out of 10, I'm staying in a hotel. You know what I'm saying? And you guys are really, truly, and I've said it once, and I'll probably say it 1,000 times, more like 1,000,000 to the 5th power, that you guys are the lifeblood of this country. Without you, I couldn't enjoy my creature comforts like my cell phone or my glasses or my ring light or my wigs, which I love a very, very, very lot. They have to get transported to the stores, and you guys are the means by which that happens. So I appreciate the job that you do. I know that during COVID, we made it a point to make you guys feel like heroes, but you weren't just heroes during COVID. You're heroes every day, because there's not a single thing that we have that doesn't depend on a trucker to get it to us. So I want to make sure that I'm giving you my gratitude, because I understand. And I'm appreciative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully I was all over the place. I don't know why I felt so nervous. Normally I don't. Maybe it's because I never wear a hat